In this video, Paraguay, temporary residency versus permanent residency. Welcome to this detailed comparison of temp versus PR in Paraguay. As of 2025, Paraguay remains one of the most accessible countries for obtaining residency in the entire world, offering two distinct options: temporary residency valid for 2 years and permanent residency, which is indefinite. Both pathways have unique requirements, costs, and implications, and in this video we'll outline each in full detail to clarify the differences and help you decide which suits your needs. So let's start with temp residency, then cover permanent residency, and finish with a direct comparison. Temporary residency in Paraguay is a 2-year permit. It's the simpler of the two options and requires no minimum income or significant financial investment. Most of our clients are starting on temporary. They're opting to start on temporary. There is a way to go direct to permanent with an investment, but it's a little bit more complicated. So most people start with temporary. To apply, you need a valid passport, a birth certificate, and a criminal background check. These documents must be apostilled if your country is part of the Apostille Convention, or legalized through a Paraguayan consulate if it is not. All documents must be translated into Spanish as well by a certified translator, but we take care of the translations as part of our Paraguay residency service if you so choose to hire us. And by the way, there's a link in the description where you can book a call with us. You can be speaking with me, Vance, directly, and we can put you on a path to Paraguay residency. Another note here about the criminal background check is if you've lived in another country for the past 3 years, that's not your home country, that's typically where your background check is supposed to be from. So for example, I have a client who was born in Portugal, raised in Switzerland, and his question is, should I be getting my background check from Portugal or from Switzerland? Now, technically, that background check is supposed to be from Switzerland, and you'll have to prove that you've been living there for at least the past 3 years or the past 5 years, whatever. You'll have to prove that. Or you could maybe get a Portugal background check instead, and then they really have no knowledge that you live in Switzerland because it's not on any of your documents. So there's a little bit of a strategy involving which country to get the background check from, depending on how easy it is to obtain, your travel schedule, etc. The application process for residency requires a trip to Paraguay. You must submit all your documents in person at the Migraciones office in Asunción. Okay? Our team will bring you to all your appointments. We're going to do a whole bunch of pre-work so that most people are getting their application done in 1 to 2 business days. You're also going to have to make sure that there's no holidays on the days that you intend to travel to Paraguay, because this is Latin America and there's a holiday almost every other Monday. But this can be planned around. Now, once you've submitted your documents, you've applied for residency, the timeline for approval is typically about 3 months. Okay? Upon approval, you're going to receive a temporary residency permit for Paraguay. Once you have that temporary residency permit, you can apply for a Paraguayan ID known as the cédula, which serves as official identification. Then once you have the cédula, that's really going to open the door in terms of expanding your footprint in Paraguay. You'll be able to open bank accounts. You'll be able to get a driver's license. You'll be able to get a tax ID. All that's going to happen after you get the cédula, and you can only get the cédula once your residency is approved. Now, people ask about physical presence requirements as a temporary resident. As of right now, there is no requirement to live in Paraguay full-time during the 2-year period. Some people recommend visiting 2 to 3 times to maintain the status, but this is not strictly enforced in practice. For a period of time, Paraguay did say that you could not be out of the country for more than 365 days. In other words, visiting at least once per year as a temporary resident. But that has since been shot down or nullified. And as of right now in 2025, that's not a thing. However, it might be good practice to visit once every 365 days anyway. And as I mentioned, there's going to be things you can do because you get the cedula, and then we can get you a bank account, driver's license, tax ID, things like that. Okay? After 21 months of holding temporary residency, you can apply to convert it to permanent residency. Okay? Essentially, you'll be renewing to permanent residency after 2 years of temporary residency. So let's move on. Let's talk about permanent residency. Permanent residency in Paraguay grants indefinite residence with a renewal required every 10 years of the resident card. Unlike temporary residency, PR does come with a minimum physical presence requirement. You must visit Paraguay at least once every 3 years to keep it active. There's also some debate as to whether that 3 years is an official rule versus just a recommendation, but that's pretty good. 1 day every 3 years to keep it active. There are countries like Panama where it's 1 day every 2 years. So 1 day every 3 years is actually very generous in terms of residency programs. And again, there are two primary ways of obtaining permanent residency. One is converting from temporary residency, and the other way is applying directly through specific programs. The specific program that most people do is what's called the SUACE program, the SUACE program, where you have to invest in Paraguay. I have a dedicated video about the SUACE program in Paraguay. We find that some of our clients who are going to invest anyway in Paraguay, maybe they're investing in agriculture or they want to start a business, they'll take the SUACE approach so that they can lock in permanent residency off the bat. But there are a couple conditions where you need to hire at least 5 people in Paraguay. You have to obtain a RUC, which is the tax ID. But the big one is really hiring people and investing money as well. The total investment is you need to invest 70,000 US dollars over a 10-year period, of which, as of right now, they want to see at least $14,000 invested within the first year or two. And then they also want to see some economic solvency as well. You know, they want to see your bank accounts a little bit. They want to see that you have some solvency, that you have some capability of investing. So again, we have a dedicated video about the SUACE program where we dive a little bit deeper into this SUACE path to permanent residency. And again, like I said, most people apply for temporary residency first. It's a lot less complicated. There's no investment. There's no showing bank accounts. All we need is your birth certificate and police check, okay? But at least so you know, there's 2 different sort of paths here. And we're cool with whatever makes sense for your situation. So we help people navigate which one makes the most sense for them. And again, there's a link in the description of the video where you can book a call with us. MyLatinLife, we're a full-scale immigration consultancy. We've helped dozens and dozens of people get residency in Paraguay. Me, myself, I've been a resident of Paraguay for over 5 years. Let's talk about the benefits. So both residency types offer significant benefits. Temporary and permanent residents pay no taxes on foreign-sourced income, only on income earned within Paraguay at a flat 10% rate. Both residencies allow you to obtain a Paraguayan ID, the cedula, and to access local services. Permanent residency, however, opens up a faster path to citizenship. After 3 years of permanent status, you can apply for naturalization, requiring at least 183 days per year in Paraguay during that period. And by some accounts, it's actually more than that, more like 9 or 10 months a year in Paraguay during those 3 years. You'll also have to prove basic proficiency in Spanish or Guarani, and you'll have to take a civics test on the history of Paraguay. It's not that hard though, but the test is in Spanish. You could study for it in a weekend and be fine, and we have resources for people. We have study guides and everything. But just keep in mind, if you want to apply for citizenship, you're going to have to take a test in Spanish, so you're going to want to have at least conversational fluency in Spanish to do that. The big thing I wanted to note here is that temporary residency doesn't directly lead to citizenship. You must convert to permanent first. And those 2 years spent on temporary residency do not count towards citizenship. You're not running the clock on citizenship. This is incorrectly mentioned in other sources occasionally, where they say 2 years temp and then 1 year permanent, boom, 3 years total residency, then you can apply for citizenship. That is incorrect. It needs to be 3 years of permanent residency. So if you start on temp, your pathway to citizenship is 5 years. If you start on perm, then your pathway to citizenship is 3 years. Now, will you actually get that citizenship and that passport after you apply? I mean, that's a whole other story. That's a whole other video. Paraguay is very famous about not really granting citizenship, even when you meet the requirements, and they're very slow with it, and it takes many years. But in this context, we're just talking about eligibility and the ability to apply for citizenship. And that's what that looks like. Hopefully that's clear. You need to be on permanent residency for at least 3 years. Now let's compare the two residencies directly again. So temporary residency lasts 2 years and is renewable. Technically you can renew to temp, but nobody really does that. Pretty much everybody renews to permanent. And permanent residency is indefinite with a 10-year renewal cycle of the card. Temporary residency requires no minimum income or investment, making it a low barrier entry point. Permanent residency via SWASE program demands a $70,000 investment. Okay. The application process for temporary residency always starts with a 2-year permit, processed in 3 to 6 months. Permanent residency is it's a similar timeline for getting accepted for the residency, also in 3 to 6 months. Okay. Temporary residency has no strict physical presence requirement, though occasional visits are recommended. Permanent residency mandates 1 visit every 3 years, a clear obligation. The document requirements that are needed are nearly identical for both. Temporary residency needs a passport, birth cert, criminal record check, all apostilled as we mentioned. Permanent residency mirrors this, but also adding the investment proof for the direct route. It also requires bank statements. It requires proof of hiring people. Now, we have a team that can process these SWASE applications. We do it for you. We build the report. We demonstrate the hiring. We give the government what they want to see. But we charge a little bit more for this process because it is involved. Both processes require in-person filing in Asunción for the candidate. Okay. So in practice, temporary residency is the starting point for most applicants. It's low risk, it's affordable, it allows you to test Paraguay without locking in. After 21 months, you can decide whether you want to renew to permanent, but I don't see why you wouldn't. It's really a no-brainer. Permanent residency, especially via SWASE, appeals to those with capital to invest or a clear long-term goal like citizenship. Paraguay's residency system is designed for accessibility. Temporary residency offers a 2-year trial with minimal hurdles. Permanent residency offers stability, either through investment or conversion. Both avoid full-time residency demands, unlike many countries, and the tax benefits, like 0 on foreign income, apply equally. Citizenship, however, hinges on permanent status, making it the end game for those seeking a Paraguayan passport which grants visa-free travel to over 140 countries, including the EU and the Mercosur nations. To summarize, temporary residency is a short-term, low-cost option with flexibility. Permanent residency is a long-term commitment with faster processing for investors. Temporary requires renewal every 2 years. Permanent needs only a decade-long renewal and a visit every 3 years. So that's the full breakdown of temporary versus permanent residency in Paraguay. The decision rests on your circumstances. Temporary for simplicity or permanent for permanence. Paraguay's system favors ease and affordability, making either option viable for 2025. And again, if you would like to get Paraguay residency, you want to put this cedula card in your hands, book a call with us. There's a link in the description. MyLatinLife. I'm a resident. We've done dozens and dozens of residencies for people from all over the world, and we can solve pretty much any problem that you might have with your case as well. So book a call, and we could be speaking extremely soon. See you in the next video.